Hi and welcome to Watch the Time and my review of the Parnis Power Reserve. Now I was in a bit two minds about these, the brand Parnis, because they generally are copies of high-end watches. This particular one I think is a copy of an IWC Portuguesa, although I think the Portuguesa is a chronograph and the top dial is like the timer. I'm not 100% sure, but I know they're about £6.5 grand. This watch is about, I think it's 120 quid at the moment. You can pick these up for second hand. They run about half that, and I got this one second hand, mint condition, for 60 quid. So I thought I'd pick one up. I fancied having a little play with a watch with a power reserve meter, and I just thought I'd see what the sort of the whole Parnis thing was all about. I know they do lots of like Rolex, IWC, Homages and Patek and AP and all that. And I don't have a problem with that as long as they're using their own name on the watch. I don't have a problem. We've got a company in the UK called Audi, and their whole business is based on products which are similar to or look like or taste like, major brands. So I haven't got a problem with that as long as they're not actually copying and putting on their, IWC. It's fine. So I'm going to review this watch from the point of view of how much it costs, what you get for your money, and is it any good. Now I've actually put this side to side against a genuine IWC in the shop, and I was astonished at how close this is, just in looks, to the genuinely expensive version of it. And I don't particularly like the styling of this watch. It's not really my cup of tea, but I wanted to get a Parnis in just to try it and see what it was all about, and I'm pleasantly surprised. I've got no issues with it. It's a good watch, it's legible, it keeps good time, it's got the power reserve indicator, which is a fun complication if nothing else, but actually can be quite useful if you've got lots of automatic watches. You can sort of set others and keep an eye on how long they're going to run for, etc. So it's a fairly big watch, so I will go through the dimensions of this one quickly. So the case diameter I measure at just over 43mm. The lug width is 22mm. It's just over 14mm thick, and the lug to lug is about 50mm. So it's a substantial watch. It wears okay on the wrist, and I'll put it on the wrist in a minute and we'll be able to see, but first we'll have a look. It came on this leather strap with one of these funky things. I just don't like these clasps. I can never get them comfortable. It's not particularly nice leather. It's a bit stiff. 120 quid for the watch. They're kind of chucking this in, but I just wish they would include just a normal strap, just a normal cheap leather strap, rather than go for this deployment clasp thing. It's okay. It's nicely made. I have no problem with it. It's just I don't like them. If you like them, then that's fine. I'm sure this watch will wear in and soften up and become a little bit more supple over time. Just a plain black, but it's okay. All I had 22mm wires was this strap, this NATO, and actually I quite like it. It wears quite nice, gives it a nice pop of colour, and I think it suits the watch actually quite nicely. So obviously we've got really nice handset on here. The minute hand goes right to the track. Really legible because it's all dial. There's no bezel to speak of. So a really nice legible watch for telling time. So I like the handset, and I like the running seconds there at the bottom. Looks quite nice, and obviously you've got your power meter there as well. All just sort of chrome and black with white print on. The black dial itself is just plain, and the two sub dials do have a sunburst effect in. Again, really quite nice. Nice bit of polishing around this sort of very thin bezel, and it's beveled as well, so a nice bit of detail in there. Nice brushing on the side of the case. Unsigned crown, nothing to write home about, but works absolutely fine. It's not a screw down, but this does hand wind, and it does hack. Again, the quality of the brushing I think is actually really good, and sort of the edges here are really nice. The transition to the polished is really nice. I've got no complaints with the quality of the case. So we've got a screw down case back. I don't know what the water resistance is of this watch, to be honest. I've not looked it up, but it's one of those watches that I would say probably 30 meters at max. So I would say it's just probably splash proof at best. The movement I was quite surprised about. Actually, really quite nice. They've done quite a lot of work on it. This sort of I don't know if it's called pelage. So even the inside of the case there's a bit of detail into it. We've got some blued screws in there, which is really nice. And obviously you've got, because of the power reserve, I presume it's because of the power reserve. Oh no, it's because of the running seconds. You've got this bar across here with the blue screws and the is that a dia shock thing in the middle there? Anyway, really nice. I've not regulated this or anything, but it's keeping time absolutely spot on. I've got no issue with it. If anything, it's just ever so slightly fast, but only by, we're talking, well actually let's have a look. It's 6:22 and 53, this is 6:22 and 10, so actually ever so slightly slow. But this has been running now for 4 days and it's lost less than a minute, so I'm really happy with the timekeeping of it aspect. So yeah, really nice. Obviously we've got a nice display case back there. The rotor's a bit uninspiring, other than it has got a bit of work on. There's no sort of detail on it. It'd been nice to have seen perhaps Parnis or some information on there about the caliber or something like that. But overall, if you was to take this watch off and show someone, the workings, it's not, it's not a bad looking movement. The way it winds, it feels really quite nice. And if you look at the power reserve meter there, it's just over 20 hours. And if you see as I wind it, that will just creep up nicely. Now I got this running, and it was less than 0. Because the power reserve on this is actually about 45, so it goes up to 40, but then it runs down to below the 0. So I got this just barely running, put it on my wrist quite late on in the day. By the next morning it was up to about 10 hours, and then by the end of the next day it was up to about 30 hours. So the power reserve meter just crept up and up and up. And once it got full, it just stays full when you're wearing it on the wrist. And even, I'm obviously not a light sleeper, in that I obviously move around quite a lot, because this actually gains power reserve overnight as well. But you could easily take this off, put it on your nightstand, and you can clearly see what you've got left available there. We've got 25 hours available. So a really nice feature to have the power reserve, and that is the name of this watch, the Parnis Power Reserve. The only thing I don't like about the dial is the fact that it says power reserve there and power reserve there. I would have preferred it just to say Parnis chronometer, automatic, and then left off the power reserve, because it's already written there. It's just duplicated, which is not particularly smart or clever. But other than that, it's quite a nice dial. And as I say, a really nice legible watch. So let's get it on wrist. Just as a comparison, I've been wearing this is my Citizen Fugu ProMaster Diver. That's just to give you an idea of the size comparison. So there it is on my just over 7-inch wrist. As you can see, the lug to lug distance is quite long, but it's not too long. Sits really nice on the NATO. It's not a particularly heavy watch, it's not top heavy. I think it really suits on this strap. It's not strap on shoes for this watch, but it was the only 22mm one that I had, so I bunged it on, and actually I really enjoy it. Quite nice. I've worn this watch. I've worn this watch to work. I've worn it for a couple of days out, just general about the house stuff, going to work stuff, and it's fine. It's a good everyday watch. There's no date complication or anything like that, so that's a choice that you might have to make if you want. My ideal everyday watch would have a day date, or at least a date complication. But I really haven't got any negatives. If I was going to go negatives, I'd say that the power reserve wording written twice on the dial, I don't like that. And there's no loom at all, so no loom shot. I like my loom. I do really like a watch with nice loom. Like these two over here, got a fantastic loom. So no loom, that's I don't think the IWC version of this watch has lume, so it may not be a negative to you, but to me it kind of is. What else? Questionable water resistance, but I'm just going to say that this probably isn't one that you could submerge. I would say it's probably just splash proof in the rain kind of things, just general wear and tear. You'll be okay, I suspect. Other than that, I've not really got any negatives that I can talk about. It's not a particularly noisy movement, it's not rough, it looks nice, it runs well, it keeps good time. The case finishing is really good. It's a decent size watch. It's impressive. So all in all, I would never spend £6.5 grand on a watch that looks like this. And I've looked at the IWC watches, and they had this one in there, £6.5 grand. And I looked at it and thought, no, I'm not. There's no way I would spend that. So for what I paid for this, 60 quid for a second-hand watch, I think it's great. 120 quid, I'd be more than happy to pay 120 quid for a watch with this specification. Sapphire crystal on the front. I'm not sure about the back. I suspect that's just normal mineral crystal. Definitely sapphire on the front. So you've got a nice bit of scratch resistance there, which is good, bearing in mind how big that sort of glass is on this, again because of the lack of any sort of bezel. And that's it really. Yeah, I'm sort of, I wouldn't say I'm won over by Parnis, but I can see why they're popular. I can see why people like them. I am going to pick up possibly another complication that I'm interested in, that I don't particularly want as part of a collection. I'm certainly going to spend a lot of money on, is a GMT, and I know they do like the Rolex GMT sort of Master 2 version of the Parnis. So I might pick one of those up. If I can get one of those for about 50-60 quid, I might pick one of those up and have a look as well. But all in all, if you just want a nice everyday watch that doesn't cost a lot of money, that looks pretty smart, that works well, I really don't think you can go wrong with this. So I wasn't expecting to like or be enthused by Parnis, but I can see why people like them. And I don't have an issue with that. The fact that they're copying other watches, but that's done so often now. I don't see it as a problem as long as they're not producing fakes, which they're not. So this is Watch the Time. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. I always appreciate all of that. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye.